Okay. Today we are going to set this thing up for the New York City Century, and I'll also be cleaning it, checking my bearings, lubing pivots, and making sure that I will be good for 100 miles. Not a lot to do. I'm going to be taking some stuff off, replacing the derailleur cable, taking some of the friction out of the shifter that's here. And of course washing it, if I didn't say that already. Things I'm not going to need, but will bring with me in case it does, is this rear fender and the cell phone holder. Cell phone holder gets in my way a little when I'm standing and pedaling, and I'm just going to use a standard little bicycle GPS. The Garmin Edge. I think it's the Edge Touring. It's got a map feature so I can actually see the street, so I won't even use that function unless I'm lost, which is possible when you're pedaling around the city. Here's the Sunrace shifter. If you can see right there, it's rubbing against the body, and that's usually when I'm in the bigger cogs in the back, so the easier gears. I'm going to take care of that today, and it should shift perfect. Using what I think is a 4mm. One-handed. Shows you my skill level. I'm basically just going to unscrew this until it comes off. Oh, there we go. There we go. I got it off. And it looks like it's rubbing between where the cable goes and the body. We'll bring it into the workbench and see what we can do. Alright, shifter comes apart pretty simple. Once you have it off the bike, everything just pops out. Here's the screw. I'm going to stick aside and hopefully not lose it. The body comes off, and if you see, it has one of these stops. If anybody is familiar with the old steel road bike down tube shifters, they will be familiar with this. That seems to be the culprit right there, so I just need to get a file and file that away. I'm going to use this small bastard file, and I'm just wow, that's hard to do one-handed through a camera lens. There's a little scuff mark on the shifter. I'm going to just a few light strokes of the file on that. Okay, here we go. Let's get you focused in again. Okay. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. Now we're going to loosely reassemble the shifter. Not sure which way that key goes, but we will figure that out. Alright, first we put the base plate on. It has a key down here to get the right angle, and you can adjust the angle. I kind of like it level and get my thumb on it the best that way. Then you have your square key that goes in from underneath. Base plate, which I will stick on the shifter first. And I position it. I always make sure I put the shifter down all the way so that way when I position this,
way better than I would do.
yeah. And then you just tighten it up with a 4mm. And I could see airspace. We'll see when I shift through. Oh yeah, I could see airspace all the way through. See, there's free play here, which is nice, so that way when you shift it up, the cable tension from the derailleur will naturally spring it back. Before it was filed, I'd do that and it would stick and I'd have to bring it back with my finger. I'm going to use this sheet of paper as a feeler gauge. And I'm just going to line it up with my file marks. Should be there on the shifter. Yep, and I have full room. Hey, I can use this as a polishing device. There we go. Once I put the shifter cable back in, let's see if it made a difference. just lining up the pulley on a Shimano system. I prefer it to be a little under adjusted so it hops down to the smaller gears faster. That way when I want to hammer it downhill, it snaps into those gears quicker. A little tighter. That should do it. Nope. Don't want it to hop 2 gears. Alright. Alright, the next thing is I have a cracked chain guide which I'm going to replace. It's been functioning, it functions fine. I don't want to be caught in the city with with the braking on it, because without it the chain falls off over bouncy roads. Pretty sure. Hopefully that shows. This one only came with 1 mounting screw. That's because I think it was the dual mounting screw. I think the inside one was probably the one that cracked it or spread it open. You probably figured that out. Chain loop on the head, on the threads, should keep it from corroding, rusting, that sort of thing. Adjusting these is pretty simple. You basically get it in first gear. I make sure it clears the crank arm. And you need about 1 millimeter of clearance between the top. And I like to press on it like I have pressure on it. This way more. This way when you're pedaling it doesn't grind on the top. Then I snug it down, put it on the smallest cog, see if it interferes there. Just when I'm tightening, it's twisting down there. I gotta set it back. There we go. Cranks. I like to have at least a 4 millimeter here, just because you flex it when you ride it. I know my old cranks didn't have any marks on the back, which means I probably set it up right the first time. Boom. Oh yeah, nice and tight. Nice and tight. And when I put it in the middle gear, which I think is the 5th gear, it should be right in the center. That worked. Nice foaming simple green. to add a little grease to my hinges to keep creaking down, which there's no creaks now. Any sort of thick grease, thicker the better, in the pivot area where the metals hit each other. Anywhere where the metal hits each other on a folding bike, that's where your creaking happens a lot of the times. And of course, in the hinges, that you can just drip oil in. So any sort of thick all-purpose grease in that area will do the job. What I've used in the past, which I'm out of, if you can see the color of that grease, that's actually grip shift grease. It's very thick and gooey, and it does a fantastic job. I'm out of it, so I'm just going to use multi-purpose grease. Just going to wipe off what's there. And you can see, if too much sun out here, where the metal hits each other. That's where I'm going to put the grease. And there you go. You can see I put it in the seam on both sides and in the seams where they meet. What I'm going to do here is I'll just drip oil and work it back and forth before I snap it back together. Right inside there. There we are. And before I close it all down and lock it up, I'm going to wipe the excess lube off. We're going to follow the same procedure, just with the now I got grease on my frame. There's a dot here. Down below, it's hard to see in the camera view, and there's two indents. Basically, that's where the pivot rests. Wipe them out, grease them, done. The main pivot here, I've never really had any creaking issues down there. It's always been on the stem. You can do the same thing by just dripping lube in there and working it back and forth, but if that ever creaked on me, I'd end up just taking it apart. It's only 2 Allen heads. It's pretty simple stuff. Just cleaning up the excess. done this before because this is very wet. Oh, we're going to have to do the bottom one. There's no pin there. A lot of sand gets behind there. Oh yeah, still very smooth, just a little sandy. I'm not too worried about the middle of the hub. I'll just give it a quick once over. Even off the brakes a little. The rear one's so much longer that it actually wears out quicker. One more thing, mounting the GPS. No real great way. So, I'm going to put it down here. Don't necessarily need to read it when I'm riding. Just want it to record. And if I need to read the Street View map, I still have it here. I can pop it off and read it. Double O-ring it. That's how they mount, if at all possible. There we go. A little extra security. Oh yeah, that's solid. And it won't get in the way of my knees either. And I could just start it, snap it on. That works. I'm all for saturating a chain. As long as you wipe off the excess, work it in, wipe it off good. Penetrates behind the rollers better. The average person who doesn't maintain their bikes, they might be overkill on a track, too much sand. But I'd rather have each roller lubricated than dry and squealy. Now what we're going to do is grease the speed plate pedals. grease port screw. Try not to drop it or lose it, which I have done many, many times. Needle injector gun. And you just enough grease to see it come out the other side. That's usually how I do it. Pedals are one of the highest friction points of a bike, and yet they're probably the most overlooked. People have really expensive bikes with really cheap pedals and really cheap bearings.